she didn't envy me. Passing it off like CP3. Shawty, she calling me MVP. I be on time, it's something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama, really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy, yeah, too clean, yeah, my zone, yeah, 2-3, yeah, got shooters that hit from deep, bust like Giannis, yeah, too mean. Bright lights like we at the garden, on P, don't get me started. Whole team walk, give me the party. If I can't make the play, I'ma lob it. If you jump, that's right on your head. Had to put him to sleep, go to bed. I'm a star, drop 50 and left. From the logo, like I'm Steph. Put it up, knock him down every time. Going hard like my life on the line. Catch me on the course, I would've down. Never losing, I put it on mine. Had to get on my shell, I've been laying low. Take it real when it comes to the playoffs. You fight with me, no one's a KO.
Ladies and gentlemen, from La Casa de los Lobos, the pit, here at the University of New Mexico, let's get ready to rumble!
Hopefully everybody heard that AAA. Hey, how's it going? My name is Ryan Tamori. Welcome to the Pit Press Live. Busy show today. 8 o'clock coming up. Happy to call this guy a friend in the media, Mr. JJ Buck. You can catch him on the opening drive with Jeff Symbieta on 95.9, 610 AM, The Sports Animal, weekdays, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. He's also the voice of the UNM women's basketball team. We'll see what he knows about them because we want to show them some love. And 8:30, another friend of mine in the media who I love having a good sense of humor with. That didn't make sense. I always have a good laugh with Adam Diehl. He's the voice of New Mexico United. I know jack shit about the United, so Adam's going to help us out with that. They earned the number 1 seed in the USL playoffs and will host a game Saturday. And I guess home field, the number 1 seed. What do I mean? I guess the home field goes through Albuquerque, which boggles my mind. 9 o'clock. As always, Nick Coppola from the Las Cruces Sun News will join us. We'll talk about NMSU's exhibition game on Monday night. And then they also got killed by FIU last night, and not good for us plus 9.5 bettors, showing faith for football from the state of New Mexico. I want to thank our sponsors before we get to JJ. Dulce River Bakery and Coffee, and I apologize, no Ben Weiss song this week. Hopefully we'll get him to join us on Saturday. Dulce River Bakery and Coffee, affordable solar, Hydro Bar, Turquoise Desert Tap Room. I got to mention Hydro Bar again, Tim Baca Sr., Tim Baca Jr. over there. Affordable service, heating, plumbing, and air conditioning for your HVAC needs in the Albuquerque, Rio Rancho area. Affordable Service has been in business in New Mexico since 1986, and it's still locally owned. During that time, they've served more than 40,000 customers, providing complete residential and light commercial HVAC services, including heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. We're about to get a freeze tonight. Thank God, finally. Affordable Service takes pride in its staff and commitment to the Rio Rancho and Albuquerque area. All right, we're going to bring in our first guest. You can hear him on Saturday. Oh, excuse me, on Saturday mornings. You can hear him on weekday mornings with Jeff Symbieta, and he's the voice of the UNM women's basketball team. I'm always happy to see this guy. I'm always happy to talk to him. This is not blowing smoke up each other's ass. I've known this guy a long time. Mr. JJ Buck. JJ, how you doing?
What's up, dude? How you doing?
I'm sweating out this Liberty game here at the end. I've been better. Well, you know me. Every time I talk to you, I'm like, I'm losing money. Before we get to the UNM women's basketball team, you also host the pregame, halftime, postgame show with our friend and other comedian, Ned James, for UNM football. I know you talk about it every day, but just for my listeners, what have you made of this UNM football season thus far? And it's a little bit topsy-turvy.
Yeah, it's a season that is desperately needed for the program, for the fan base, and finally getting some breaks to go your way. And you look at the schedule in Mountain West play, you didn't have Boise State, you didn't have UNLV, heck, San Jose State, Nevada, not on your schedule. And this is a bunch of teams with a lot of questions trying to find answers in Mountain West play, and the Lobos have been able to find a couple of their answers. And I expect 3 of the final 4 games, because I think probably against Washington State, they might be a decent underdog in that game. But you coming up Wyoming, San Diego State, Hawaii, those are all games that this team can find a way to win. And to be talking about a potential 6-win football team in year one of Bronco Mendenhall with the turnover is desperately needed. And it's been fun to watch, to have some exciting games, see the evolution of Devin Dampier. And, they went against the nickname I gave him, because anytime I was talking about this team, I'd say, hey, take the over and pray for defense. And now what we saw against Colorado State, I think might see a little bit of that against Wyoming, but at least they're giving you a reason to watch some football this year.
No, it's exciting, and I've said that on our show. Just take the over, and I listen to you guys in the morning, so I guess we think alike. I'm not trying to steal anything from you. I'll get your thoughts on the UNM Ben's basketball team after we wrap up here. But my first question to you is, what Mike Bradbury, I think 9 new players. He's entering his, 9th season as well. We had the pleasure of talking to him at Mountain West Conference Football Media Days. What do you know about the team thus far?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I think with what they did last year with a similar group of players where there was uncertainty, there wasn't a lot of defined roles, and to go out there and win 20-plus games, win 12 games in conference, be the only team to beat UNLV last year, I think that there's a little bit more athleticism across the board, a little higher level of talent that they're starting with. And for Coach Bradbury, I do think he's in a good place. I think, some of the conversations I've had with him about adjusting to the way it is, I think, every coach will have their moment of venting, about college athletics, but he's like, this is the way it is. This is what we have to do. And him and his staff have embraced it. It was 10 players, and unfortunately, the one that got hurt and is going to be out for the season, Clarissa Craig, a 6'3" transfer from Cincinnati, they thought probably could have been their best player this season. But luckily they were able to bring in Amaya Moreland, who played the last 2 years at San Jose State. So she has experience as a starter in the Mountain West Conference, will slide into the 5. Olda Joaquim comes back. So they went from actually having depth to just kind of back to just 2 post players. But I'm intrigued, and just seeing what they've been able to do over the last few years, especially last season. I think this team can do what they did last year, and it's surpassed the preseason pick of being 6th in the Mountain West Conference.
I was going to ask you that. They're picked 6th in the conference back-to-back years. Obviously, it didn't care last year. Mike Bradbury kind of said it, and with you being the voice of the team, we know how he is. He doesn't really show any emotion, but you kind of have to think it's a chip on their shoulder, right?
Absolutely. I think this is a team that they don't shy away from. They haven't lived up to their expectations in the Mountain West tournament. They want to be better. They want to be a team that is playing in a semifinal, chance to go to the NCAA tournament by playing in a Mountain West tournament final. I think some of that has hung around with this team in the last few years, that they've had a team that won the regular season title, even though it was a COVID year, but they still played all those conference games, and they had the toughest situation of anyone that COVID year, and they won the conference, came up short. You look at like last year going in as a number 2 seed in Mountain West play and losing the first game. So I definitely think there's a chip on their shoulder, and it is hard when you do any preseason rankings these days, especially in women's basketball. As much as I follow it in the offseason, there's not as many people that are covering transfers and stuff. So you have to do some digging. So when you look at preseason polls on the women's side, a lot of people would just look at it and go, oh, they only return one starter. A couple of the players that are coming back didn't play a lot of minutes last season. So there's the unknown. But that is pretty much 90% of college athletics every single year. And you just kind of have to look at the track record of the staff. That's why I do think, this team will be, again, pushing towards the top. Can you beat UNLV? That's still the question. That's a great coaching staff and a loaded roster, but that's what New Mexico and other teams are trying to do, is run down the Lady Rebels.
I've had the pleasure of talking to, I've had a lot of pleasures lately. Bad joke there too. As I said it, Lindy LaRock is great to talk to. She's got kind of a sense of humor. She's got confidence. She's from Las Vegas. She's incredibly intelligent. She's a Stanford alum. She played in, I think 4 straight NCAA tournaments and back-to-back Final Fours. She's got basketball written all over her, and I think played for her dad. Or her dad has a pretty well, reputation of basketball in Vegas. What do you know about them? Because they seem to be, they're picked first. They seem to be the team still to beat, and you mentioned it. What do you know about them, and how has she kept this thing just churning?
I think for her, it's the fact that she's a Vegas native plays a huge role in that, because I talked to so many people around the conference, and after that first season, we thought, all right, last year was probably going to be her last year. Like, this is a coach that's destined for a power conference job if she wants it. But she's locked in. I know she just had a child last year, so she's very comfortable. She's happy. She's performing at such a high level at UNLV, and they're starting to get bigger support. They played a couple games in the Thomas and Mack Center last year. They do play in a Cox Pavilion, but that place is full now when you go watch them play. So the support is going up, and it's just a talent. Desiree Young is finally gone. She's been like the Mountain West Player of the Year, it seems like, the last 3 years, just a dominant force in this conference. She graduated, but they bring back an all-conference point guard in Jackson in the backcourt. Alyssa Brown, who's playing the number 2 inside, is going to be the number 1. So they have the talent, the coaching to back it up, and they've been carrying the banner for the Mountain West Conference. And I know the Lobos, Boise State, Colorado State, coaches that have been in this conference for a long time, they want to rise to that level, so the conference as a whole can get more attention, and it can also help UNLV, because they've been really the only one that's been able to make noise the last couple of years.
And I'm going to butcher her name like I always do. Vienna Cumber. I hope I said it right there. Talk to her. She's great. Local kid, Sandia. For her to stick around, what do you think that means for the program?
It's gigantic. Cumber is a good player, better person off the court. And I think you see that with, so many leaders on teams, and especially to be somewhere 4 years, it's rare these days. And I get it, man. If I have the opportunity with name, image, and likeness, or to go to a power conference, I don't begrudge any of these student athletes when they make decisions, because there's so much more going on where you're from, academics, playing time, etc. But for V, she loves Albuquerque. She grew up going to men's games, to women's games. And one of the things that she's spoke on, and it's gotten bigger, her junior and senior season, is, she wants to be someone that this community looks up to. And sticking around for her was really important. To go to her senior season, being named preseason all-conference team, one of the players that this team doesn't function without Cumber on the floor. And just seeing her growth last year, all around game being more than just a shooter. I think that's just going to continue this season. And, when you have a player like that, you can lean on that's been there, done that, that do the newcomers can lean on. It's huge to have.
No, that's a good thing. With her, she's the only Lobo, and there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 schools out of 10 players selected for the Mountain West Conference, all preseason team. But for her to be on the only Lobo, I mean, I guess that also speaks more to her ability. And it's still a program that has had a lot of success in the past. I mean, I had the pleasure of covering Don Flanagan. For her to be on that preseason All Mountain West team, that kind of same question to you. That has to mean a lot to her, to Bradbury, and the program.
I think it does. It's respect. I think she dealt with a knee injury her freshman season, which limited her about half the year. Sophomore year, the role she was playing, it was coming off the bench, just being a shooter. And then last year, you saw that this is an all-around basketball player. This is someone she crashed the boards, averaged a career high 6 rebounds. She's a facilitator. She just knows how to run the offense, even being the shooter on the team, and just her leadership. Like, she's someone that's always even killed. And you watch V play, you don't realize how much she's worked through. She had a torn knee in high school. She battles. Like, she is one of those players that it's covered in an ice pack after the game, but it's so she can get on the floor the next day. Like, she gives everything to this team in this community, and it's just one of the reasons that I'm so grateful to have this opportunity for student athletes like that you can see the passion that they have for the sport.
No, again, it's growing up here, I think it's very cool that she's on that team and she stayed here on the preseason team. I kind of probably made the mistake at Mountain West Conference Media Days, traveling back to Clarissa Craig, going back to that. She was a highly touted recruit. I don't, what is what you know. So with that said, what have you heard about that? I think it's a season-ending injury. What any grumblings have you heard on that?
Yeah, she's got her to practice, and really unfortunate. I think in talking with coach about it, is when it happened, they had time to adjust. So they had played the 2 exhibition games, so they're able to work on different lineups. I think when it happened versus when they took the floor, maybe it was like 3 or 4 weeks. So they had quite a bit of time to adjust the system and prepare for what this season is going to be like without Craig in the middle, because she was going to be a focal point offensively and defensively for this team. But I think as much as it stinks for her, she was ready for a big role, just kind of sitting, waiting at Cincinnati, had this opportunity to come to the University of New Mexico, which would have been her senior season. So, unfortunate for the student athlete, but for the, the team perspective of it, the fact that they had that build up before the season, I think it allowed everyone, all right, deal with it, be there for a teammate, but then understand, all right, this is who we are now.
I normally never do this, but I'm going to go to it. It adds another question to my question chamber. I can't think today. I'm tired. JJ, why does it seem like New Mexico can never get any top 10, at least some of the top high school players? I know that we looked at Bella Hines and had another top player in New Mexico. Her name's escaped me, the one that went to Princeton. But they no cigar. I mean, Bella Hines is getting national recognition. I mean, I kind of know what you're probably going to say, but maybe to answer that.
Well, the Lobos are recruiting these kids. They're in on all of them, but that's just a different level. We're talking about national championship contender LSU on the biggest stage of college basketball. As awesome as the pit is, and it's awesome for women's basketball. When you're traveling around these arenas, and sometimes I'll be broadcasting a game, and I'm always asking myself, like, am I too loud? Like, are they hearing what I'm saying in this gym right now? Like, the fan base is there, the expectations are high, but that's LSU, man. That's national championship caliber, and Bella Hines getting that opportunity. I don't think that's necessarily a shot at New Mexico. That's just top 5 basketball right there.
Well, the young girl from, I believe, where is it? Where did it go?
Well, the other player from Sandia,
Sydney Benelli.
yeah.
Yeah.
Going to
I mean, I'm not.
Ivy League education. This is probably, yeah, she has dreams of playing basketball at the highest level, which she's going to get to do playing Division I basketball. But man, Princeton, that networking, that will set you up for life too.
That's what I thought when I saw that she was going to Princeton. I was like, holy moly, she's got, the grades. So for an Ivy League, I don't, I'm not knocking her. You take advantage of that. That's for your life. It's, the weird dynamic here of, hey, you got to go to UNM when you're getting looked at by an Ivy League school, and we're UNM alumni. But any of the newcomers that in regards to this season that might make a good statement for Mike Bradbury's squad?
Yeah, so I don't want this to be a direct comparison because Anaya Ogman ended up being the Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year and an all-conference guard. But last year, going into the season, Lobos didn't know who their point guard was going to be. Like, Ogman wasn't a true point guard. She was long and athletic on the perimeter. Well, they have that same question this year, and I think Alyssa Hargrove, 5'9" senior from Dayton, Ohio, played at Austin P last year, is in that mold. She's not a true point guard, but she's the best perimeter defender on this team. She's probably going to get the opportunity to play point guard to start this season and could have that similar type of impact, being someone that wasn't expecting to play point guard, but is given that opportunity, then absolutely has a career year. And so I think that's someone to watch out for too. I know a couple of international kids the coaching staff was really high on. Naili Padilla from Spain. She could also be an instant offensive threat as a true freshman. She showed some good confidence in shooting in last exhibition game against Western Colorado. And she said, that first game against New Mexico Highlands, she was just so nervous. Like, this is an atmosphere a lot of these girls have never played in. Like, you're talking about an exhibition game, and there's a couple thousand people there. So once they got those nerves out, you saw Padilla do really good. And then Joana Magalhaes from Portugal could end up playing some point guard minutes, but is a quick player, is a creator. And the newcomers, 9 of them, they're going to have to play, and they're going to make a big impact on this team. But I'm also excited about the returners. Like, Olda Jakim is going to end up playing starter minutes off the bench or potentially start at the 5 in her 5th season, collegiately 3rd with New Mexico. And she's someone that's positive energy on and off the court. It's great to have. Paris Laro. So this is what's going to be fun to watch. She's one of the best athletes on the team, but she can score like Cumber. And the way she shoots, she has this little turnaround jump shot in the post. And I think she could be a really big offensive presence this season. Of course, Laura Langerman, the sophomore guard from Germany, just knowing this system, it's going to be important that, she can help be one of those combo guards, play some point guard minutes as well. So this team, I do think they have, starting off, a little higher offensive ceiling. Defense is the biggest question for this squad. I don't know if they're going to be as good defensively as they were last year. They're going to have to grow into that, find the grind, find ways to get it done on that end. But I do think they'll be able to score the basketball.
Anybody else in the Mountain West Conference? I thought it was funny. We talked to BJ Rains of Bronco Nation News, who covers, it's predominantly football and basketball there, but he covers Boise State, intensively. That's his job. He owns that company. It was so funny. I was like, so what do you know about Boise State women's basketball? And he goes, well, not a lot. And I thought that was pretty funny. But what else? Is there anybody else in the conference? I know, Colorado State, I think going back like 15, 16 years, I remember they were good. San Diego State knocked out UNM, I think, the last 2 tournaments. Yeah. I know last year for sure. Any of these other teams that you're familiar with that, maybe could, throw a punch back at UNLV?
I think it's what you just mentioned because of just the consistency. Like, you look at Gordy Presnell, Ryan Williams, we're talking like over a decade now in the Mountain West. Stacey Terry Hudson, I think it's going to be like year 6 or 7 at San Diego State. So there's just a consistency with these programs. Colorado State, I am absolutely blanking on the name right now. I think it's Emma Ronsick, but her sister played at Colorado State. And so she's a transfer in from Creighton. She was a starter on the Creighton team that went deep in an NCAA tournament. Like, she was an all Big East player at Creighton, and she transferred to Colorado State to play with her sister for 1 year. So that was an absolute slam dunk of a get for Colorado State. And she could end up actually being the best player in the Mountain West Conference this season. So that's going to give the Rams an opportunity. And then, Heather Ezell at Wyoming, she was an assistant coach there, took over. So she's been able to stay consistent. And Wyoming is always one of those teams that it's just tough to play. That, it's a trip to Laramie. It's always, you're either coming off the Colorado State game or you're going to play Colorado State. So it's always a tough road trip. And then, the Lobos and those kind of top 16s have been going back and forth and kind of waiting to see what happens from the bottom. Utah State has a new coach this year, and Air Force has a new coach because Gobrecht retired. So it was interesting to see only one school change coaches via firing, and the other was just due to retirement. So we'll see if some of the teams at the bottom of the conference can find some consistency and make it a little bit better from top to bottom.
The opening game is Monday at 11 a.m. against Northern Arizona. You'll be on the call on 95.9, 6:10 a.m., correct?
Absolutely. It's a field trip day, so Lobos just trying something a little bit different. Trying to get a bunch of kids from the Albuquerque area in. First, it's a doubleheader at the Pit because the Lobo men will be playing Monday night, so it's just a big day of basketball here. And this isn't your normal opener. And I was surprised to see Northern Arizona as the opener. And I know a lot of people are like, all right, NAU. This is the preseason favorite in the Big Sky Conference. They've been a postseason team the last 2 years. They played in back-to-back Big Sky tournament title games. The preseason conference player of the year is their center. They have an all-conference guard. So this is actually going to be a heck of a game to start the season.
I think Gonzaga has traditionally had pretty good, since what the men have done. They've had a pretty good women's basketball program. I think they've been in the tournament quite a bit. Don't quote me if they were in the tournament last year. I can't name the teams that were in the women's field. Obviously, the last few years it's Iowa, it's South Carolina, it's Mississippi State, it's LSU. But they get Gonzaga at home on November 24th. That's a 1:00 tip. Then they go to Texas Tech. This is a pretty, what appears to be, and I don't know what North Texas women are, but again, pretty good men's basketball program. They can piggyback off each other. This is a pretty good schedule. Are you impressed with it?
I am. I'm about 1/3 of the way through in just terms of my roster prep. But for the schedule, Gonzaga, they're a perennial top 25 contender. So, they're starting the season probably top 40. They don't have a number by their name now, but they did last year. You're right. They built success, both men's and women's basketball at Gonzaga with what they've been able to do. Texas Tech was, I think, like 17-15 last year, but it was going down their roster, and it's like, okay, all conference player or transfer coming in from another school that was all conference. Like, they have top flight athletes to compete in the Big 12. And what I like about it is those are home and homes. So the Gonzaga is a return game. We're going to Lubbock this season, then Texas Tech will come in next year. And so I like that Coach Bradbury has been able to do that to get a prominent name on the schedule that's going to get fans excited. You get to test your team on the road and in a true road atmosphere, and then they get to come back and play at the Pit, which talking with these schools, and I remember Arizona women's head coach talking about this too. Like, they want to play in these atmospheres. Like, it's not like men's basketball where you're trying to do the MTEs. You don't want to do the true road games. Like, they want good atmospheres. They want big crowds. They want to be tested. So that is a benefit that UNM can take advantage of on the women's side. And you know what? When you're doing this, you look at the little things, and we don't have to get on an airplane in non-conference play. So yes, it's a little bit longer of a bus ride to Lubbock, but take advantage when you can. And the Lobos were able to stack up 13 of their 15 games at home in non-conference play. Now, a couple of those you're probably going to have to get back on the road next year, but heck, take advantage of it when you can. Quick bus ride to Las Cruces, bus ride to Lubbock, and see if you can build a solid foundation going into Mountain West play.
I mean, that's impressive that you don't have to go anywhere for non-conference. I mean, once you start, I think what I was like, oh, I can't wait to travel, and I'm traveling now, and I'm like, I don't want to go through.
There's fun places. Like, last year we did it big, man. We went to Cancun for a tournament, which was insane. Just that entire experience. We're at Gonzaga. So
that's cool.
They've done it. It's kind of the way it lined up, getting the return game from Gonzaga this year, having a couple. Pepperdine's a return game from going there last year. They started a Christmas Lobo Invitational. Take advantage of it when you can, because the one thing is that you're going to get a good showing at the Pit, and so when you can kind of load up on the home slate, I'm all for it.
I mean, it was. I remember when the program was in the Sweet 16, what in like 2003, and what Don Flanagan was able to do. Very, very cool times. How many years have you been the voice now? Is it 3?
So this is I'm heading into year 5.
I did not give you enough credit.
That's right.
I'm
It's
sorry about that.
crazy. It's crazy how fast it's gone, man. I absolutely love the opportunity. You know, I realize how special it is to be able to have a Division 1 basketball opportunity, you know, and just even thinking about it, man, I've done the studio work with football for 10 years now, and a 5th year with basketball, just hoping to keep growing, see what opportunities come ahead. And like I said, you mentioned those days of the Sweet 16. I think the thing for Lobo basketball now is, can you be a top 100 team? Get back to that, because that means postseason play, because they've changed everything. The women's WNIT was not like the way it was for the men. So it was a 64 team field. You're getting postseason opportunities, but then NCAA came in last year and said, we're going to create the WBIT, which equals the men's NIT, a 32 team field. And now it's really hyper focused on, all right, outside of the tournament teams, you have the WBIT. Can you be a top 100 team? Because the Lobos on both men's and women's side are not going to do a 3rd tier, postseason tournament. So the goal, of course, is to get to the NCAA tournament, win the conference, get to the NCAA tournament. But I'd like to see them be able to be a top 100 team. So at least if you don't win the conference, can you get to the WBI team? You playing postseason basketball.
I think, and then one year I think they got to the WNIT championship against Ohio State, and they lost here. Well, congratulations heading into your 5th year. And before I let you go, I want your thoughts heading into this men's basketball season. I kind of went off a limb and jumped off a cliff last night, thinking that I can really probably see this team winning a regular season conference championship. And despite all the shit behind you, I'm the UNM naysayer. But what are your expectations? I mean, for me, they're high.
Yeah, I don't think that bar moves that much. I think it might be a little longer ramp up this year, just with the new faces coming in, and that's just part of the process for all these teams. I'm actually interested to see if they're going to lean more on the defense. Can they be kind of a gritty team because of the length that they have? When you have a 6'9" dude essentially starting at almost like acting as your shooting guard. I know True Washington's that, but with what Phillip can bring to the table is, can they just be a hard team to play against, be pesky? Because I think the offense is going to take a while to find its groove. Dent's going to be fantastic. Like, he's just going to take over games, attack the rim. I was joking that I know it's only one game, an exhibition game, and so you take it with a grain of salt. But I do think this team is going to have some cold shooting nights. Like, I think there'll be nights where you look down and they'll be 5 for 25 or 6 of 24 from 3. So that's why I'm saying, all right, can they lean into just a grittiness, use their length, use their athleticism, and then grow into that offense?
I thought UTEP. I love when teams come in and punch their opponent in the face. And I still thought it was kind of crazy. I think Patino said no, it wasn't Patino. It was our guest Tom Moser from Top of the Mountain West podcast last night. He was like, they don't care. They probably want to lose. And I was like, and then True Washington said, I don't want to give out my whole playbook, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the season. JJ, we haven't had you on in a while, and I'm much appreciated for your time tonight to talk women's basketball and for my terrible questions.
Well, I'm glad you get to hang out with your friends tonight. I think that's very important. And I will say I appreciate you wanting to talk about women's basketball. It's definitely something, that I try to do, and I'm definitely going to have a larger focus, at least on my social media platforms, is just not promoting, of course, the women's games I do, but the conference as a whole, because a lot of the work I've done to get to this point, I've worked with women's sports, whether it's Heather Dyke and the soccer team, softball team, that's been the opportunities that have gotten me to this point. So I appreciate you wanting to talk about the women's basketball program, and I'm going to continue to share those good stories and use it across the conference and try to pick it up as much as I can.
Well, we didn't talk about it much last year, and I know you're a busy guy, so I'll bug you down the road. I appreciate you spending a half an hour with me tonight talking about it. I don't know how we did that. We're JJ Buck, again, voice of the UNM women's basketball team. You can catch him on the opening drive with Jeff Symbieta on 95.9 6:10 a.m. I haven't forgotten how to do that. At 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. weekdays. JJ, always a pleasure. I'll see you at the football game. Have a good one.
See you, man. Thank you.
All right. When we come back, going to take a quick commercial break. A good friend of mine now, Adam Diehl. He's a play-by-play broadcaster for New Mexico United, Sports Primo, Mountain West Network, and played soccer at ENMU. And I'm going to pretend that I don't know anything about soccer. My name's Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live. We'll be right back.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tamori. I'm flying solo tonight. No Ed Nunez, no Eric Moulton, no Nick Nunez, no Ricky Thompson. So it's just me, myself, and I just want to go to the comments real quick. J-Rod, what in the fuck are the Yankees doing? Holy shit. Well, they retook the lead. All right. I want to go to a gentleman I've been trying to bug to get on the show, and I thought this was a perfect week to do this. He's a play-by-play broadcaster for New Mexico United. Started his own company, Sports Primo. He works for the Mountain West Network, and I don't know if we're good friends. I'm sorry, I gave ourselves too much credit, but we're good acquaintances. Being that you're the Cowboy fan and I'm the Giants fan, I'm happy to have you on, man. Mr. Adam Diehl, how you doing, dude?
Well, why can't we call ourselves good friends?
We are good friends.
Okay, I thought so too. Now I'm a little bit sad. I thought you took that away from me.
I fucked that up.
Oh, I forget this isn't like a radio where I could cuss, right? I could say those kind of things.
Yeah, we do have sponsors, so I've been pretty good about not dropping the N-bomb. Dropping the N-bomb. Jeez, no, I don't say that. Dropping the F word. Boy, I put myself on the heat there. No, I don't. I'm not using racial slurs either. Let's see how I can recover from that. It's finally good to have you on the show, man.
Dude, I just saw JJ was on. That's awesome, man. I hadn't talked to JJ in a little bit, but that's a good get right there. You know, funny story is JJ. Obviously, you were talking about how he, he's the play-by-play guy for Lobo women's basketball, right? And I went head to head with him in interviews to get that job to be the play-by-play guy, and he won. And I was never salty at JJ. It's just salty, when you don't get a job, you get salty. I've always loved JJ. And dude, what a good hire though. He has become a really good broadcast, and listening to him and how he's, built himself into such a good play-by-play guy. And so, I mean, they did a great hire there at UNM. So big fan of JJ Bucks. So it's cool that I got to see him on with you.
Well, I got the pit. I can't even talk tonight in general. I've got the newspaper background. I've never strived to be a play-by-play guy, but I wanted to do my own radio show, so I can't speak English properly and kind of make fart jokes and Vagisil jokes. But I've told you this, man, and I don't follow the USL closely. I'm going to be
Mm.
straight up. So I'm going to learn stuff tonight. I did go to the game Saturday night, and it was like 90 degrees on the field, or in the stands. I've told you this. I think I've had you on when you call the soccer games, and I think you're phenomenal. I do. I've told you that. I think you do a good job calling the United game. You played soccer, you know the game, and I always forget the guy that calls the Englishman that calls
Yeah,
the
well,
game with you.
I appreciate you. Andy Hageman, he does the color
That's it.
commentary. Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate the compliment very much. I take it very seriously. My background, dude, was never soccer play by play. Like I played in college, played a very high level, played all 4 years at Eastern New Mexico. Um, and so I mean that was my soccer background. But when I was young, like I was listening to Mike Roberts was my guy. And so that was like a hero of mine, just listening to him call mainly basketball, right? I mean, Lobo basketball growing up in the 90s, early 90s was key. And he was so good. And so, like that, when my dad told me, hey, you could do that, I'd like broadcast games to myself. Like when I was playing Tecmo Super Bowl, I'd be like, and Troy Aikman back to pass to Michael Irvin, and Michael Irvin's got a first down, and so that's, dude, I loved it. So I've always tried to hone in on. I got great training at Eastern New Mexico. It's a great broadcasting school. So, but my background, like with all my first games, like my first 400 games I broadcasted was basketball, football, and probably a lot of volleyball. It's never soccer because there wasn't any opportunity to do soccer. You know what I mean? Like there was no big soccer games that you broadcast. Like here and there, I do a state championship for ProView Networks. For high school championship, but that's like one game a year, man. So there was no opportunity for it. So like it fit my background. I could speak coherently to the game and the technical terms of it very well. And obviously, playing it at a high level and then being able to, that I've been broadcasting for so long that it kind of fit together. So it was kind of like a perfect storm,
No, that's very cool. I mean, I can't even. I jokingly, I can't even figure out how to host this show, but this is, we do this part time, and I love almost full time, but I love doing it. And I feel when you're calling United, there's much passion there. I don't know if I'll start with United or Sports Primo because I know you built that from the ground up, and you and I have a lot of common here.
Well, I will. I just want to, because it's fair to my partner. My partner Joe Abeda is the brilliance behind it. Him and his brother, they started Sports Primo. I actually left ProView Networks to go join them, but now as partnership, we've been able to build something really nice. And so I don't want to make sure that I want to make sure my guy Joe Abeda gets all his love, and Aaron Abeda and the Abedas that do Sports Primo as well. But yeah, big piece of it. And dude, the love for sports around here, that it's wild, right? So there's a lot of avenues where we could do this. Like I know you're passionate about it, and look at this, look at how you're doing with this Pit Press Live as well. It's been great.
I didn't think when we started a podcast almost 2 years ago that I'd be on live here, and I'm still trying to figure out how to produce this show by myself and host it. All right, I got to ask you, and shout out to your business partner. I mean, that's awesome. Yeah. I have to ask you about United because I read Peter Trevisani, the owner's quote today, and I'm not trying to get myself in trouble with you. I know we give each other shit. I pay attention to it like this. I see that they win, and then like this year, I was like, oh, they won, and then I think like a month or two ago, I've got friends that have season tickets and they go all the time. They played soccer bias. And it was like, well, they're the number one seed in the West. And I was like, get out of here. And I know it's kind of a new coach, but how did we get to this point which I do think is pretty cool for this city and this franchise is, how did we get to this point where UNM, New Mexico, see, I can't talk tonight. New Mexico United is hosting a playoff game on Sunday.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, what's weird too is it's already the 6th season for United, and I almost think like COVID, man, everyone, it like travels so much faster time because of a year off with COVID or what have you for most. But it's weird because United actually played a season during COVID, but it was all on the road because we weren't allowed to have home games here in the state of New Mexico. Don't get me started on any of that. But
I agree with you on that with UNM and New Mexico State, but go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, this is the 6th year, and dude, it's a great organization because Peter Trevisani as the owner, and this is what's exciting. This is true professional sports. And Peter Trevisani as an owner actually cares about winning. You have professional sports where your owner wants to make money, man, and he just wants to get a bottom line and make sure he's making money. And then you have professional sport where your owner actually is in it to win. And he is because he makes moves every offseason. He makes trade deadline type moves for success like he's done this season and every other season, and always is trying to hire the best. And so it all starts with Peter Trevisani and his ownership group, but mainly Peter Trevisani hiring people to win. And dude, with this support, Ryan, that United is getting, and this year in the league, I think they averaged just under 10,000 a game, which was 3rd in the league. Historically, for the first 6 seasons, they're like number 1. So, but with the support they're getting and the revenue that they're bringing in, they're a high functioning league. They're a high functioning professional league. And so, when you're like the top revenue dog in the league, you should be competing for first place. And this season, under Eric Quill, who I think is going to get poached and leave. That I don't have any inside information on that. That's just me thinking out loud. You should be the number 1. You should be a team that's number 1. And they are. And so they're the number 1 seed in the West. And, they're favorites probably to get out of the West, but you know how playoffs work. And especially in this league, they're going to play the number 8 seed Phoenix Rising, and they could lose easily on Sunday night and be out of it. In fact, they just lost to Phoenix Rising 2 weeks ago at home. So it's going to be difficult, but you should be the 1 seed. And it's happened, and it's great. And I'll be honest, like Albuquerque, I know is going to be stoked about it. This is their first home playoff game. If they've made the playoffs 4 of the times, but it's all been on the road. They've never got to host. And so with this atmosphere, it's the best in the USL. They're going to bring about 13,000 people on Sunday night. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be a lot of fun, man.
And I know Phoenix Rising FC is their rival. That I do know.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that it seems like with talking with my friends that they've never can really beat them. I'll save that question for a second. Hypothetically, they win on Sunday. You mentioned the first playoff game in this franchise history at home. There's a real possibility I don't know I think Louisville, somebody told me the Louisville club is the number 1 overall seed. And if I think they've won, they had to go there. I don't know if it's a neutral site game, but you're potentially looking at 3 postseason games here in Albuquerque. That has to even build more excitement.
Yeah. I mean, the coach answer is 1 game at a time. Let's do 1 game at a time. But that's bullshit, because the real answer is, like us in the media, is we're looking at 3 games at home. And if they can win, you're just going to keep building that momentum, and the excitement is going to be amazing. This is going to be one of the biggest sporting atmospheres that we've seen besides Lobo basketball. You can't touch Lobo basketball. You never will be able to touch Lobo basketball here in Albuquerque. Besides that, this will be one of the biggest sporting atmospheres that we've had in the city of Albuquerque. And that's a fact, man. So it's going to be exciting. And you mentioned Phoenix Rising. United have had a lot of success against Phoenix Rising. In fact, I think overall United have won more games, and I got to do the research for this weekend, but I think they've won like 1 more game than they've lost to Phoenix. These 2 teams have met in the U.S. Open Cup a couple of times. These 2 teams have met in regular season twice a year. But it is like this big brother, little brother thing, because Phoenix is a high operating organization as well, and they've got a lot of money, and we know it's Phoenix. And ever since United New Mexico was in this league, and New Mexico's like, oh, right, we're going to make Phoenix our rival. Phoenix thought they were like too good to even be our rival. They're like, you're little brother, you're New Mexico, we're Phoenix. And that's how their fans act. That's how their ownership group acts. Until we started beating them, and it's like, oh, okay, they actually can compete. And so it's turned even into a better rivalry because of that hatred. There is animosity between the fan groups. There's animosity between the ownership groups. Peter Trevisani makes no bones about it. He doesn't like anybody there.
Well, it's not a rivalry until they both,
Yeah.
both teams win. That's great to hear. Louisville City FC has 76 points. Mexico
Yeah,
United has
so
59.
they're
I guess
they're in the East Coast, right? The East Conference. So
right.
there is a Western and Eastern Conference. So if you were to play Louisville, you're in a good spot because you're playing in the championship
championships.
game. So
I'm going to tell you a very quick story. My buddy, whose name is David Fevick, so I'm name dropping him. His nickname is Chew, and it is
I
from
know. Yeah.
yeah, you know him. It's from Chewbacca. You know, my buddies Colin Brennan, probably Donacion Montoya, Donnie Montoya, who I jokingly call at Lobo Ronnie. Probably Sean Murphy. But
Normal. Yeah.
yeah, you'd probably know all those guys. Damn it, where was I going with the story?
I played against Sean and Donnie. Both of them I played against them in college. They went to Regis for a little bit. So I got to have a battle against them in the upper levels, which is cool. So
that is very cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know Donnie went to like some college in Pennsylvania, then transferred after a year.
Right.
But what? Now I lost my train of thought with where I was going with this story. Damn it! Oh, I know. The player named Bruce, and now his entire name is escaping me.
Daniel Bruce. Yeah.
Daniel Bruce.
There you go.
So my buddy Chew's dad, who we call Lord. Everybody's got a stupid nickname in my group. His name's Ralph. We call him Lord Ralph. And I'm losing listeners as I explain this story, and viewers. But he called him up when he renewed his season tickets, and in his, I guess, Scottish, English, British accent, was like, "Hi, Ralph." So we kept the voicemail when he called him, thanking him for purchasing season tickets. So I know that he's on the team, but can you tell me, and for those of our viewers that don't pay much attention to United, what are some of the key players to watch out for if they watch this game, which also is on CBS Sports Network, and you'll be on the call on 101.7 FM, the team.
Yeah. The weird thing is you asked me like who the best like player, like you normally somebody could say like quick three names, like, okay, you got to watch this guy, this guy, this guy. And there's so many.
Not Daniel Jones.
Dude, Daniel Jones. Whew, that's another story, brother. But the players like Greg Hurst is a forward and he's got the most goals, 11 goals. Definitely not the most important or best player on the team. You would probably hear me say like Nanan Husu, and this is a kid from, and I say kid because he's 23 years old, and he's from the Ivory Coast, right? And dude, solid as a rock. He's a holding midfielder. I wouldn't expect you to know what that is, but basically it's like your quarterback, right? He's getting the ball in the midfield and he's distributing it, and he's kind of leading the team offensively and defensively. I would say he's overall the best player. Your captain is Kalen Ryden. He's like your old veteran center back, old school mean center back. That's just good physical and tackles. I would say the best defender though on the team would be newcomer Talon Maples, who's a youngin from Texas. Daniel Bruce is like the heart of the team, as you just mentioned, very scrappy player. Technically, the best player, like skill-wise on the ball, that'll wow you, that'll juke everybody, is Kawele Akale. He is about 5'4". I mean that. I think he's listed at 5'6", but I think that's lying. But he is so good on the ball that even if you're not a big soccer fan, you would notice it because it's just that drastic of a difference the way he dribbles. So those are some of the players that I would highlight. But this team, man, they don't have a forward that's banging in a bunch of goals. It's a collective team. Now, that's dangerous, though, because, if they're in a tight game and they need a goal scorer, sometimes that's been a problem. And in fact, Ryan, the last month, United have been miserable. They have 3 draws, 2 losses. They haven't won in over a month. The game they did win, they won off of a own goal, which isn't good, but they won. So it's weird because it's one of those things when you're first seeded and you're up by a lot of points, you kind of your game kind of falls off. Like they knew they were winning the West, and so they kind of put their foot off the gas, and they're coming into this number 1 seed at a decline, and that is a worry for Sunday. It definitely is.
That was going to be one of my next questions. They're 0-3-2 in their last 5 games.
Yeah.
After a lackluster finish to this season, what do you see the current attitude of this club?
Oh, I think Eric Quill, their head coach, is too good. he took over midway last year and took a team that was almost dead last in the Western Conference and got them into the playoffs, and then they lost. And then this year has been foot on the gas. They've been in first place since May, at the beginning of May. So, I mean, that's like a month and a half into the season, and they didn't look back. The quality and the demeanor of this team is fantastic. The way they train, you could tell they are technically better than just about everybody they play. They outpossess most teams. They attack very well. Their finishing, is hit or miss. Their organizational defense is really good. So all around, they're going to be better. Like, they're a better team than Phoenix. Now, Phoenix might have a couple better players, though, and they bang in a goal or two, and it's 2-1, and all of a sudden you're saying, how do we lose this game? We outplayed them, but sometimes in soccer, it's just about finishing a couple of opportunities. So that is nervy, but I don't expect United to come in flat. I expect them to control the pace of the game. It's, can they finish, especially an early opportunity, get the lead against Phoenix, and then they'll be fine. But, dude, I'll tell you what, a 1 seed versus an 8 in this league, it's not as drastic as most leagues are.
It's not 94 Denver Nuggets. They beat there's the useless shit that I don't know why I'm wasting my time. Can't even finish that train of thought. I'm ready for bed. Is there another player? You mentioned Daniel Bruce, and you may or may not have answered this question, but I'm going to ask again. Is there a player that's not on everybody's radar, maybe like Phoenix FC, that might step up their role in this game, and if they advance?
It's, I guess, Jacobo Reyes. He scored like 4 goals in the last 8 games. He scores weird goals too. It's like deflections off the keeper, and he's right in front of the goal and taps it in, or he's kind of like, I call him like the Ruud van Nistelrooy, if anybody knows, who actually just took over head coach of Manchester United. Kind of just like poaches goals sometimes and is always in the right spot at the right time. Maybe he's an X factor. I don't know. It's hit or miss with who's scoring. Like I said, Greg Hurst has 11 goals, and it's like 9th most in the USL Championship League. But if you ask me, like, who's going to be the guy that scores or makes a big play, I couldn't tell you. I know the most consistent player will be Nanan Husu. I want to be more confident. I'm trying to be more confident. I don't necessarily think that, anybody should be afraid of Phoenix on Sunday. But they did just beat New Mexico United like 2.5 weeks ago at home. So it's not going to be easy.
You kind of mentioned this as well, but how maybe more in depth, you're at all these home games. What kind of atmosphere do you expect, given that this is you said this 5th,
the biggest
season?
one? Yeah, this will be the biggest atmosphere that I've seen United have and broadcasted in was a Cinco de Mayo game that had like 15,500 in year 1, which was awesome. It just was like a perfect storm. It was a day game, Cinco de Mayo. Everyone wants to party and drink and go to the game. Actually, I'll be honest, that's why those games are fun. United games are fun because they're quick. You go, it's like a lot of singing, you get some drinks, and you enjoy it. And it's fast, right? It's quick. And so that these games, it's a good environment too, with how many people go. So that's why they're exciting. This game you'll see the difference because there's no next game. So if you lose, you're out. If you win, you move on. Also, what's unique about this is there has to be a winner. So the regular season, if it's 0-0, that's it. It's a tie at the end of regulation, or if it's 1-1 or whatever. If it's tied, you're going into what's called extra time. Everybody knows.
I know what that is.
Overtime. Yeah. So it's and then it's penalty kick shootout from there if you're still tied. So it's unique. The atmosphere, from what I understand, is already like 11,000 tickets sold, and I'm guessing there will be a lot of walk up too. You're looking at a massive environment. Like, this place is going to be rocking. The excitement for an actual playoff game feel is going to be different. So yeah, I mean, and when it gets loud there, man, it's so much different. I'm not calling out isotopes. It's just so much different of a feel than an isotope game because, baseball, it's AAA. You're just kind of like, you're there to like be with your buddies. I'm not sure if you're there to see a double play and a nice turn. I just don't know if you are. And so this is a true need to win it, need to have it, playoff environment with the crowd going to be roaring. So it's going to be unique.
No, I've said this. When's the last time you went to the Isotopes game and like somebody asked you, did the Isotopes win? I couldn't tell you. And that's not a knock on the Isotopes.
No, it just is what it is. That's the
AAA.
atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's minor league baseball. I mean, I want to go because there's some prospects I know. Somebody gets called down. You know, the last time everybody remembers when Manny was here. I think of Chris Bryant. That's what AAA baseball is about. And for me, who quit drinking 3 years ago, I mean, the best part was going. I didn't even go to I went straight to the beer line and wanted to get my seat. I mean, that's what I did at AAA in baseball. I did that at Yankee and City Field, Yankee Stadium and City Field. But you kind of mentioned it. I'm done rambling there. How much would it hurt to get bounced in the first round by Phoenix?
Yeah, it would suck. It would suck. You would feel almost like the season was a disappointment and all the buildup. And man, the season's so long. It really is. Think about this. They started playing before the Isotopes, and they're still playing after the Isotopes.
It's crazy.
Like they start their preseason in February, and it's a heavy preseason, and then you get your first game first week of May. So first week of May, it's end of October. You could be playing until the end of November if you keep advancing in the playoffs. I mean, that's a long ass season, man. And so, yeah, for all the success they've had, they had a great U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal run where they ended up losing to LAFC, who, by the way, won the thing. LAFC won it. And so that was a good run in that tournament. And then you got the 1 seed here in the West. And if you're going to bow out to the 8 seed, your rival Phoenix in the first round, it's going to be miserable, man. There is no consolation prize of, oh, but we had a good season. No, it's going to be like, man, that was an epic fail in the playoffs. So yeah, there is pressure on this game for sure.
Especially you don't know when the next time you'll be the number 1 seed. I mean, seasons like that just don't grow on trees.
Yeah.
We're joined by Adam Diehl, voice who does many things, but voice of the New Mexico United. That game is, I just had it up. It is on Sunday. I know it's on CBS Network. That is very cool. You'll have the call on 101.7, the team, ESPN Radio here in town. I'm going to gather the game starts at 7. 6. Okay, there you go. 6. I'm debating going. I probably would rather watch that than Colts Vikings. No knock on anybody else.
You don't want to see Joe Flacco get a good start?
No, hey, I just picked him up on my fantasy team. I started him 2 weeks ago. I don't hate on Flacco, man. I love that run. Wanted to get your thoughts while we still got Adam Diehl here. Your thoughts on UNM basketball.
Oh, God, I love it. It's one of my favorite things growing up. And then you get, a little dull stage, and then you get Coach Alford era, and God, I loved it again. And then it's been a good decade, right? Until we've got what we've had this last couple of years, and obviously last year with the big championship and the Mountain West Conference tournament run, and then the NCAA bid, and then obviously now is expectation is what that's been built. So Richard Pitino's done a brilliant job revitalizing the best fan base that I know of, since I've been doing sports. And it's cool because now, like I'm doing ESPN radio with Joe O'Neill, and so I get to cover this like more professionally, which I've never done. So I've usually just kind of been a fan. I did actually call when I was with ProView. We're contracted to do something like 8 men's games I did one year. So I actually did get to broadcast some men's basketball games at one time for the Mountain West Network television stream, which was cool. But I'm more of just a fan than coming at this from any kind of professional point of view. I love it, and I can't wait to see where things go. I mean, I know there's like a sloppy scrimmage against UTEP, right? I mean, that you can't take anything of that. They win it, but it was all ugly. And I'm just excited to see kids like Donovan Dent and what he can do. And he's the leader of this team. And then True Washington, who's this freak athlete that's building into a role. And let's see if some of these young kids could step up and make this team special. There's no time to jump into the season, Ryan. You got Nicholls State on Monday, and then you're in Vegas. I think you're going, right?
I'm going to Vegas, and
you're
I'm going to
take
New Jersey.
LA.
I can't. I'm excited, man. I mean, was as much as I despise flying, and I've been in and out of the Vegas airport way too much. in the last 2 years, which when you're leaving,
You
it's like,
love it. Come on.
well, I love Vegas. I hate the airport. I mean, it's cool when you land there and it's cool when you take off. I'm excited. I mean, this is what I tried to pursue 15, 16 years ago, and I kind of fell flat on my face. I'm excited, man. I am. And this schedule, and that's why I'm doing it.
Does the
and
team have enough scores? I mean,
Well,
that's what we want to know, huh?
I mean, I guess we're going to find out. We're just whatever Nichols is, and it's Nichols now. Don't say Nichols State.
It's not Nichols State. Okay.
It's Nichols. Yeah. I had to look that up. Thank you, Google AI.
Good thing I'm not doing the play-by-play for that.
Be thankful you don't host the show. It's I mean, you're thrown right into it with UCLA. I mean, there should be Nichols. I think it's going to be interesting to see who scores.
That doesn't flow right. Nichols. It's got to be Nichols State.
It's got to be Nichols State. That's what I knew him as.
I'm going to call it Nichols State.
I mean, yeah, I'll call him Nichols State. I don't know, man. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Even the football team has sparked a little bit of life in me because you know my background with the football program.
But for real, it has though, dude. Bronco Mendenhall, he's a hell of a coach. You could just, and I told you this from the beginning. I know you were skeptical, and everyone's skeptical, me including. But when you listen to him talk and his demeanor, I love it. And I believe him. And I think he's sincere. And I can tell you, there is no doubt that the players have bought in completely with this guy. So I think it's been a better product and a lot more fun. And I'm here to support that, man.
No, it's been, I think, much more of a pleasure to talk about and cover. We had Danny on this show when we were just still doing a podcast a year ago, and he was really gracious to join us almost every week, which I thought was cool. I haven't asked for Bronco because Bronco looks like he could care less about talking to the media, and I'll cover it. I'm not the print guy. I'm not.
Is Sean, it one of those? Are you kind of nervous to ask him to come on?
No, I'm not nervous to ask him come on.
I still get nervous asking people for interviews, and I've been doing it for like 15 years now.
No, I stopped caring. It's I've gotten older and more cynical and probably crazier, so I don't really give a shit anymore. I just can tell, and all the things I've heard, and it's not disrespect. Again, I've had a job to do, and if I was working for the Journal or covering the beef for a paper, obviously I'd be there all the time. I think his press conferences have been kind of robotic, and he does it to a T. I mean, I
love the way he does it, though. Go ahead. I don't want rah guy. I've seen way too much of rah guy. I want authentic and methodical. Tell me you know what you're doing, guy, and that's head coach Bronco Mendenhall. Like, his demeanor is authentic. It's not forced. It's not some speech from Remember the Titans. You know what I mean?
It's not Al Pacino.
So you go Any Given Sunday? That's where you're going? Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with that.
Okay. I'll go, Friday Night Lights. Okay. That's a good speech. Give it Billy Bob Thornton.
I will take Billy Bob Thornton. God, I haven't watched that forever.
What's your go-to, like, a football movie? If you had to pick all of those, which one is your favorite? You can throw Varsity Blues.
Okay. I love Varsity Blues. Don't hate me for this. I really love Necessary Roughness with Scott Bakula and Sinbad.
I hate you for that.
Not a great movie. And The Program. The Program does it. I'm not a Remember.
Those are wrong. Those are wrong answers.
I'm not a Remember the Titans guy.
In what way are you not a Remember the Titans guy?
I mean, I don't know. I love Major League. Like, I hate Field of Dreams. I love Bull Durham.
Just slapsticky movies that are silly. Serious movies.
The Program's serious, but it's like, it's so bad it's good. You know. Yeah, there's so we
you're
quote.
You're such a contrarianist sometimes. You know,
I'm probably devil's advocate on purpose.
Yes.
What's a good football movie? I mean,
Varsity Blues.
I do like Varsity Blues. I like Tweeter.
Friday Night Lights.
I don't want your life. No, but here's the thing: is I do like Friday Night. What am I talking about? I'm talking out of my ass. I do like Friday Night Lights, and it's one of my favorite books because the book is not about football. It's about how fucked up that town is and how
Yeah,
racist it is.
it's so true too.
Yeah,
It's real.
yeah.
I'll tell you this, just from playing at Eastern, I would have to go to Odessa through Texas all the time. Those towns, man. And I'm not going to say about the racism and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know none of that really.
You
But
got to read the book.
yeah, but just from how like the town is literally empty for high school football, and
Yeah.
they have signs that says "Gone to the game," "Gone to the game" too. Not like we are at the game like properly. It's like "Gone to the game" signs up on every single business is true. It's just it's a different beast, West Texas, man.
I've been to Artesia. It's something else. You know what movie is? And before Nick Coppola joins us from the Coppola, still, dude, Nick, I still butcher your name. I can't talk at all
Come
tonight.
on, man.
We Are Marshall is good, and I like Matthew McConaughey in that. That's probably one of the reasons.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's all right. All right. Well, I'm gonna stop butchering every movie you like, but being that tomorrow's Halloween, I quote Ghostbusters in Major League like every day of my life. Like,
Okay.
yes, it's true. This man has no dick. His name. I'm glad that's how I'm segueing you out, Adam.
Love it. That's the way for me to leave.
Thank you for letting me bug you, dude. It is good
let's
to
do it
see
again.
you. He is his. I cannot talk tonight. His name is Adam Diehl, play-by-play broadcaster for New Mexico United. They play at 6:00 at Isotopes Rio Grande Credit Union Field at Isotopes Park on Sunday night, 6:00. It is the first round of the USL Championship. It's the playoffs. They play Phoenix FC Rising. You can watch it on CBS Sports. But do yourself a favor, go to 1017 FM, the dial on there, and listen to Adam on ESPN Radio 1017, the team call the game with, and I forgot his name again, damn it.
Andy Hageman.
Addy Hageman. Yeah. Adam, my man, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're the man tomorrow. We'll see you, bro.
All right. Talk to you later, dude. Quick commercial break. I appreciate Adam Diehl. And I can't spit out any words tonight or speak the English language. Quick commercial break, and we'll be back with Nick Coppola from the Las Cruces Sun News. Much to talk about down south with the Aggies. My name is Ryan Tamori, and this is the Pit Press Live.
Shawty, she calling me MVP. I be on time, it's something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama, really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy, yeah, too clean, yeah, my zone, yeah, 2-3, yeah, got shooters that hit from deep, bust like Giannis, yeah, too mean. Bright lights like we at the garden on P. Don't even started, whole team walk, give me the party. If I can't make the play, I'ma lob it. If you jump, that's right on your head. Had to put him to sleep, go to bed. I'm a star, drop 50 and left. From the logo, like I'm Steph. Put it up, knock him down every time. Going hard like my life on the line. Catch me on the course, I would've down. Never losing, I put it on mine. Had to get on my shell, I've been laying low. They get real when it comes to the playoffs. You fight with me, know it's a KO.
I had to sit down because apparently I can't talk at all tonight, and it's kind of killing me. Appreciate Adam Diehl. By the way, if you're watching the World Series, it's 6-6 with one out in the top 8. And I think New York has probably just blown this game in the series. All right. Talking some New Mexico State Aggie basketball and football. and we appreciate this gentleman every night. You can read him in the Las Cruces Sun News. His name is Nick Coppola. Nick, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Less busy today than normal days, but probably because there was a game Tuesday night and I was really busy Tuesday night. So, I'm doing all right today. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there. The Aggies played last night, and football-wise, and we'll get to basketball because they played on Monday night an exhibition game, and I have no idea who they played. That's how fantastic of a job I'm doing. I got to stop saying that. But anyway, they go to FIU and Mr. Worldwide University with Pipple Stadium, which I love. And I don't even know what theme it was last night. It looked like Skywalker. I don't remember what it was.
It was like
But anyway.
it was like their, I guess, like a throwback game because they pulled out like Sunblazer stuff, which I think is their former name before they became the Panthers a while back.
That's I did not know that. Maybe I'm gonna have to educate myself on FIU. They did do Vice U like a week ago, which was fantastic. A callback to Miami Vice. Florida FIU is in the Miami area. It was 7-6 at half FIU, and then they scored 27 points in the second half. New Mexico, I think, cut it to 7. They lose 34-13. What I took away from that game, because I had New Mexico State +9, was Santino Mariucci and Brandon Nunez combined 719 for 30 yards and 2 interceptions. I'm not here to kick New Mexico State, but that's got to be some of the worst quarterbacking, not only for New Mexico State, but maybe in the country this season.
Oh yeah, it's bad. They played 4 quarterbacks so far this season. I believe they and FIU are the only 2 teams in FBS that have had 4 quarterbacks throw 5 more passes this season. And yeah, I mean, all 4 of them have been bad for New Mexico State this season. I mean, even Keone Jenkins for FIU, I thought he had a pretty good game. But yeah, I mean, New Mexico State quarterback play has been bad so far this season. That was really bad. I mean, they somehow found a way to go even lower than rock bottom, all the way to the Earth's core somehow. So, I mean, they could not throw the ball deep. They could barely get a pass, 5, 10-yard passes. I believe the longest completion that Brandon Nunez had was 7 yards. They tried it. They tried to get explosive plays, but Brandon Nunez just couldn't hit the mark. He finished with just 12 passing yards. When Mariucci replaced him, he got 11 yards on 1 pass. So he almost equaled his total just off 1 pass on the final drive. Then he threw an interception, which didn't really matter because the game was already lost at that point. But yeah, I mean, it just – what'd you say?
A 3.8 QBR for Brandon Nunez. I'm sorry to cut you off there. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't even know that. Yeah, that's atrocious. So – yeah, I mean, it made them extremely one-dimensional. And they've had one-dimensional games this season where they could only move the ball running, especially early on. But they had 216 of the 246 total yards through running. Their only touchdown was on the ground. They had to run the ball about 40 or so times just because it's, like I said, that's the only way they were moving the ball. And defensively, they let one guy get more yards than their entire offense. So that's not really a recipe for success, and they're just not really a good football team right now.
Well, I would imagine FIU wide receiver Eric Rivers against a pretty decent defense probably put himself on a lot of draft boards and scouts' radars because he had 11 receptions for 3 touchdowns and 295 yards. And you said that was more than the entire offense for NMSU.
It is. I think it was about 49 yards more. So it wasn't even like he barely cleared it. No, I mean, it was a pretty significant difference. That 295 yards, it obliterated the school record. I mean, I think the record before them was somewhere around 210, 220. I mean, he tore that apart. It also ranks 3rd all time in Conference USA history for a single game. So yeah, he really made headlines nationally for that. And they tried all different kinds of looks for him. They tried single high looks, they tried 2 high looks, they did some quarters coverage, and he still got past them in quarters coverage, which is pretty crazy because quarters coverage is designed to prevent specifically that, and it still happened. He was still able to take the top of the defense. All 3 of his touchdowns came from over 50 yards. He had a 51-yard score, a 51-yard score, a 54-yard score, and I think a 64-yard score, which is the final one. The first one came up just a busted coverage. 2 DBs blitzed when only one of them was supposed to blitz and the other was supposed to follow Rivers, and it let them completely wide open. The other 2, he just got past him. The second one was an incredible catch. He made a really good one.
I saw that.
That was a phenomenal catch. And the third one, he was able to get past him again. And so he was really just a big thorn. I mean, he was New Mexico's defense, when they didn't have to contain Eric Rivers, played pretty well. It's just that one guy was just able to be such a contributing factor for FIU, and they weren't able to stop him no matter what they threw at them. And, come out with the offensive struggles, that just resulted in another decisive road loss for them. I believe I don't know the number off the top of my head. I wrote it in my game story. They're their own 4 on the road. They've been outscored by like 140, 150 points on the road in all 4 of those games, and they've lost all 4 of those games by 20 or more. So I don't know if they just if it's the travel because of Conference USA or something like that. But I mean, no quarterback play. You get beat deep all the time, and you just cannot play on the road. Like I said, I mean, they're a really bad football team right now.
Keon Jenkins, the quarterback for FIU, who is pretty good if you watch Conference USA. Not that FIU is world beaters, but he's a decent quarterback. It was leading into the game that he might not play. He did. Do you think he was the biggest difference, or would have maybe been the same outcome with the backup?
That was my washer. So yeah, I mean, I thought he played well. I mean, certainly better than when he played last week or the last game when he got benched. Yeah, I mean, he got a lot of his yards for just throwing to one guy, and that one guy definitely helped him out. But I thought he played pretty well. He played pretty mistake free, played pretty clean. I don't know if it was just because he was going up against New Mexico State, but I'm sure that'll be a big confidence booster for him. But yeah, I was impressed with what I saw from Keone Jenkins, especially in the second half. I thought he played much better in the second half than he did the first half. So he was a big contributing factor. I thought Eric Rivers really helped him out. But yeah, I was impressed with Keone.
Mike Washington is probably the team's best player. 11 carries, 88 yards. I'm astonished he only had 11. I understand they probably had to throw the ball late. Average 8 yards a carry. He had the one touchdown, which I think was the 27-yarder. I mean, he's got to be – where are they without him? And he had another pretty good game.
Yeah, I mean, they would be absolutely nowhere on offense, if they did not have Mike Washington and Seth McGowan. If New Mexico State's making a play on offense, it's probably one of those 2. And the only reason he had 11 is because Seth McGowan is their lead back. McGowan ended up with 16 carries, and he's been their RB1 for pretty much the entire season. Even though Mike Washington had a better game tonight or last night. Yeah, I mean, I was really impressed with that 27-yard touchdown that he found a hole up the middle. No resistance from FIU on there. Pretty big burst of speed right there. So I was really impressed with that. He was the only one moving the ball for them. I mean, McGowan made some plays too. Brandon Nunez had a couple of good carries on the ground. He had one for about 20 that was negated by a holding penalty. But yeah, I mean, those 2, Washington and McGowan, are really the only ones doing anything on offense for New Mexico State on a consistent basis. And even Mike Washington sometimes has games where you only can average 2.5 yards per carry. McGowan has been the only one that's really been consistently efficient for them. So I'd say this is one of Washington's best games of the season, but it really just does not matter when you only have 35 passing yards across an entire game.
You retweeted, and I follow this guy. I think he's a big Aggie booster, and I'm only mentioning him because what he posted. James Bach, a Notorious Banker. You can follow him at Notorious Banker. I follow him. He's got some good takes. He said all the Aggies wide receivers over 8 games, and I'm trying not to harp on this. I went back to your Twitter page. All the Aggie wide receivers over 8 games, 629 yards. Eric Rivers in 1 game versus New Mexico State, 295 yards. We've heard that. His game would account for 47% of all receiving yards by Aggies this season. I mean, I guess that speaks back to the quarterback play. This team is 2-7.
2-6.
2-6, excuse me. You have to win out for a bowl game. They have to go to Western Kentucky, who kind of had a little bit of a rough time with Kennesaw State today. I thought it would have been a little bit more of a blowout. They ran away with them. Liberty lost again to Jacksonville State, who's now 4-0 in the conference, I believe. I mean, this kind of speaks volume to the quarterback play. How do you try to get it fixed with 4 games to go?
I really don't think they can. They've tried 4 options now, and they're 8 games into the season, and they still don't have a guy. I have no idea who's going to start against Western Kentucky. Whether it's going to be Brandon Nunez, or they're going to go back to Mariucci, or they're going to go back to Parker, or what. I have no idea, and nothing has worked for them. I think it's a combination between just they just gathered a bunch of guys from other schools, or they gathered some JUCO guys that just weren't ready to play at this kind of level. And the guys I got from Division I schools were kind of just scraps that those schools maybe didn't want, or they figured out they weren't going to play at those schools, because Mariucci came from Wake Forest. But I think it also has to do with just maybe coaching, maybe, because I mean they played 4 guys and none of them have been able to execute. So I don't think that. I mean, obviously you'd love to see better quarterback play. I mean, those 4 quarterbacks just have not been good, but I feel like it's a little bit just on coaching to try and help develop them and get them ready to go, or at least find a better quarterback. If they found 4 or 5 transfer guys for the quarterback position and none of them have worked, that may just mean a strategy for going out and getting quarterbacks just isn't really working. As you said, for their 2-6 record, they're not going to make a bowl game. I don't think they're going to beat Western Kentucky. There's certainly no chance that they're going to beat Texas A&M. Texas A&M might literally beat them by 60 points. Texas A&M is probably going to have to go to the Hague for the things that they end up doing to New Mexico State and in College Station. I mean, they get Western Kentucky at home, and they played a lot better at home this season than they have on the road. But I still think Western Kentucky pulls that out. Maybe they beat Middle Tennessee, and maybe they beat UTEP to close out the season. But I think 4-8's the ceiling for them at this point. That was probably the ceiling for them when the season started. Anyway, but yeah, they set out a goal to make the conference championship again and go to a bowl game. 3rd consecutive bowl game. That would have been the first time that's happened in program history. The first one has been on the table for weeks now. The second one's extremely difficult going forward, and I don't think they're going to end up doing it.
Tony Sanchez looked, like he's having a.
He's had a rough time.
He looks like he's having, and again, I'm not here to knock him. He looked like, I don't know how to describe it. It was like, what am I doing? What am I doing here? Like, that's kind of what it is. He looks like he's got a lump in the back of his neck. I truly think they didn't think the season was going to go this way. I think they thought they were going to be able to piggyback off of the success of Diego Pavia and Jerry Kill. But I don't. What is the mood there? I mean, what's the mood around the program? Maybe around Las Cruces. Do they care anymore?
Yeah, I think the team and the fan base feels a little bit different. I feel like the fan base has been used to losing for a long time now. So I don't think they're surprised, or at least greatly surprised, to see another losing football team. Maybe there's a little bit of optimism because they've had 2 good seasons before this in 2022 and 2023. But yeah, I don't think they're shocked. I think they're maybe a little bit disappointed that the team is playing this bad, especially after last year. For the team, and yeah, you're right. I don't think they expected this at all. I don't think they expected to be 2-6 with most of those losses coming very decisively. But like I said, they've lost 4 games by 20 or more points. And yeah, I mean, Tony Sanchez just he looks a little bit disgusted with how his team played, very disappointed. A little bit despondent, and just a little bit, because I mean it's one thing to suck. It's one thing to suck when you had great expectations, and that's what they had coming into the season, at least from a team and coaching standpoints. And the fact that that's probably not going to happen now, I think is just a really big letdown for them, especially since Tony Sanchez he was able to get a second chance as a head coach, after things didn't really work out at UNLV. So he was really trying to take that and maybe have a point to prove. And he talked to me a lot about that when I interviewed him for my big story I did from it, because it really seemed like he thought that he had a point to prove, and he's not really doing that right now because the team is 2-6. Some of them might be on the shoulders a little bit, especially with the quarterback carousel that they're still going on and will probably continue for the rest of the season. So I think the fan base is disappointed and not surprised. Coaching and the coaches and the team are probably both to a greater extent.
I had one more question about football, and I forgot. I mean, my comment is when I watched them against, I was kind of high on them. I thought, maybe they might still have that spunk left over from Jerry Kill. I think when they had a difficult time against SEMO, Southeastern Missouri, and they had to come back, um, and they had Liberty dead to rights, and I don't think this Liberty team is that good. What I've seen out of the last 2 weeks. They blew that game. Do you kind of feel like maybe looking back on Liberty and that really kind of broke the season when they gave up that second half lead?
I honestly think it was the Fresno State game where they escaped South Missouri, but they went 1-0. That was the first time they started 1-0 and since 2014. And then they almost beat Liberty, and they did really really choke and blow that game. But Liberty was favored to win the conference, and Liberty, they're not as good as they were as they were last year, but they're still at near or at the top of the conference, or I guess near now. At the time, they were at the top of the conference. So there was a little bit of optimism, like, okay, maybe we're still a good team. We're 1-0. We competed very well against Liberty. We might be able to do something here. And then they just go to Fresno State and they get the doors blown off them. I mean, it wasn't even close. And I think that is what kind of killed a lot of the optimism, certainly around the fan base, because it was just like, oh my goodness, here we go again. We got another bad football team. We've had plenty of them in our history, and here we go again. We're about to have another one, especially coming off one of the best seasons in program history. And then third game of the season, especially after you don't have much to complain about in the first 2 games and how they went. And I mean, you get annihilated in a result that would probably happen 9 times out of 10. I think that is what's. Because I mean, they've just been on a nosedive ever since then.
You might be right with Fresno State. I thought that second half against Liberty, I was like, man,
Yeah.
it just, I felt like that the wind got sucked out of the team then, and that was weak.
It felt like it then, but it was extended against Fresno State to a much higher degree.
Before I move on to basketball, in case anybody cares, yes, the Dodgers are up 7-6. I'm going to probably try to watch the end of this game. So we're going to wrap this up here, Nick, soon.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you about New Mexico State basketball, and I'll make this quick. They played an exhibition game against Western New Mexico. I didn't know it was Western New Mexico, even though I saw the box score. Ed Nunez, who joins the show all the time, is the voice of Western New Mexico. I don't think he was down on the call for that. Western plays UNM here. I think he's calling that game. They get a 21-point win. Jason Hooten is revitalizing that program, trying to do, I still think picking up the pieces probably from Greg Heyer. I think they had a much better year last year than anybody could have imagined. What did you take away from your first NMSU game of your professional career and at the Las Cruces Sun News end of this year?
Yeah, I mean, they were okay. Robert Carpenter was a big standout for them. He scored 22. Eight made shots. 6 of them were threes. Deontay Bostic's a new transfer for them. He started. He was okay. He didn't shoot the ball that much, but he was okay. Christian Cook is probably going to be their best player this season. He scored 14. Wasn't really that great from behind the arc. He missed all 3 of his 3-point shots, but he still was able to get 14. I was able to. I texted Jason Hooten the day after just to see what his thoughts are, and I texted him mainly just because we're not going to have availability for the first game next Monday against the Mexico Highlands, which is a little bit weird. So I just wanted to text him. He said, he said that he thought that they played with good effort, but he said that it, quote, looked like a team with 9 new players and 1 important player out, which is another transfer in Peter Philip Tovi. I don't know how to say the last name, but yeah, and to me it did. They brought in 10 new players. They lost a lot to the portal, pretty similar to the football team and how much they had to turn over the roster and basically start from scratch. And a lot of those guys are going to have to be key contributors this season, and they're all playing with each other for the very first time. So I mean, of course, Hoon was happy that they won, but he obviously wants to see a lot of improvements. And they'll get a chance to. They play Highlands next Monday. They play Utah Tech after that. After that, they play Texas A&M Corpus Christi, who I think made the tournament last season, and then Dayton also made the tournament. So It's not the hardest non-conference schedule for them, or at least to start, but it could be a little bit easier. Certainly they should expect to win this game against Highlands. But I think they'll be competitive this season. If I'd make a prediction, I don't think they make the tournament. But they might have a better year than last year.
They have to go to Utah Tech. Wow. New Mexico High, this is their schedule. Texas A&M Corpus Christi made the tournament in 2022 and 2023. They did not make it last year because I loved me some Islanders, man. Let me tell you. And one of the Lobo transfers last year, Isaac Moshila, was on the team last year. Man, that is a this schedule is rough. At Dayton, at UNLV, Pepperdine, Abilene Christian, at UNM, at Texas. Dayton, UNLV, UNM, and Texas. I don't know. I mean, with a rivalry game, anything can happen. That is a rough schedule. But as I need to speak this out loud as I have on this show in the past. It's good when UNM is good for NMSU, and it's good for NMSU when UNM is good. So, looking forward to that game on the 7th. His name is Nick Coppola from the Las Cruces Sun News. He joins us mostly every Wednesday, except for when the Aggies played on Conference USA weekdays, which I believe is over, and we switch to Maction next week, correct?
It is, yes. That was their last weekday game. It's all Saturdays from here on out for CUSA.
All right. And then just because, and I know I'm going back to football, they get Texas A&M at 5:45 on November 16th on the SEC network. So if you're looking forward to that game, and A&M is 10th in the country right now, they have completely righted the ship since the Notre Dame loss. Nick, as always, thank you for joining us. I hope you have a good rest of your week, and I'll bug you next week.
You as well. Thank you for having me again.
All right. That was Nick Coppola from the Las Cruces Sun News. I'm not going to take a commercial break because I want to flip on this baseball game. Appreciate everybody watching. I thank JJ Buck, Adam Diehl, and Nick Coppola from Las Cruces Sun News for joining us. Adam Diehl, obviously, on the call with New Mexico United, and JJ Buck with UNM women's basketball. You can catch him on the morning drive on 95.9, 610 a.m. Post-game, pre-game show, UNM football with Ned James, jack of all trades over at Cumulus. They should probably pay him more. Appreciate everybody listening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy game tomorrow night. Enjoy Halloween. Please be safe. Don't do anything that I would used to do. And we will talk to you morning hell on Saturday, our UNM football pregame show. Big one, 2:00, second to last home game for UNM football and Bronco Mendenhall, Wyoming. We will be live at 9:00. We'll have our picks. We'll give our thoughts on the game. Trying to round somebody up from Laradice to come on and talk. Appreciate everybody watching and listening tonight. I know it was kind of a boom, boom, boom tonight. That's what I wanted to do to accomplish. Other guys couldn't join me tonight. We all have other jobs, other lives outside of this. We try to do the best we can. And we're all dads, so that doesn't help. Everybody have a good night. Happy Halloween. And you know what? I didn't get to end it on this. I always joke about The Simpsons on this show. Hopefully you can hear it. And I know I'm in an...
And do my graveyard smash.
Doing the Monster Mash with you on this beautiful Valentine's Day.
Marty, why did you play that song today? There must be thousands of love songs.
Well, it's kind of a love song. All the monsters enjoying each other's company, dancing, holding their evil in check.
You played the wrong record, didn't you?
Why are you doing this to me?
Why are you doing this to me? I love The Simpsons. I know that was out of context, but I feel like you should play the Monster Mash for Christmas, Hanukkah, Easter, New Year's Eve, and just not on Halloween, maybe for Thanksgiving. All right, I ended that on a bad joke. Everybody have a great, safe Halloween. We will talk to you on Saturday morning. Have a good one. My name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live.